Howdy guys, I'm AutoEdits Jason. That's my trusty helper, Pinto the dog, and today's video is inspired by something I encountered yesterday at the auto parts store. I've been saving up a list, as you guys hopefully are doing as well, of not going out as often as you normally would have to try to kind of do the stay home thing. So I had a list, went out once, and I found this interesting phenomenon happening at the auto parts store. There was several people getting car batteries because their battery had died during the quarantine. Now there's a simple reason for that, and it's something that I thought I'd give a few tips and tricks on to prevent you guys from having to deal with an unfortunate $200 plus bill when you go to run your errands finally, if you're staying home. So I went into the shed, got all of my battery charging and maintaining paraphernalia, and we're gonna run through these, and I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks on how to maintain your car battery. So if you guys have watched the channel at all, you'll know that I'm blessed with plenty of diverse projects. Well, diverse 4x4s, muscle cars, vintage stuff. But this is a tip I want to help to maybe broaden this, and so if you can share this with someone you think this may help, that's what this video is for. I want to just kind of go through some of these things to help everybody out here in this kind of a weird time. Now, I have all of the stuff from my expensive stuff down to really affordable things that you can do, and then I'll actually give you a tip to just not even having to do this on what to do with your vehicle while you're storing it. So we'll start over here at the top of the food chain. This is my most expensive battery maintainer and charger and jump starter. It's the Optima Digital 1200. Now this is specifically designed for AGM style batteries. Now I'll put a link to a video I did where I explained the difference between a flooded cell lead acid battery and an AGM, an absorbed glass matte battery, like the Optimas that I have in most of my all of my vehicles. So this right here offers just the most versatility, the most power, and all of the different things that you'll want for that, but it's expensive. It costs quite a bit. I'll put it in my Amazon store. And you know, it's great to have, but it is a luxury item in my eyes. Now from that, I'll just jump over here to the Optima Digital 400. Now this is the battery charger I think has the best bang for the buck on the table here. This one has almost as much versatility as this one, just slightly less power. But this one right here will do both batteries, the AGM, like the absorbed glass mat or the flooded cell, and it has a maintain mode, a charge mode. It has all of those things. So I would say get a battery charger like this. This is, I think, $89, has all of that versatility. It's a really good option. Now we can jump down from there. Over here we have a good old-fashioned standard 12-volt battery charger. I think what's the amperage, 2 amp or a 12 amp charge. So that would usually charge a dead battery on a normal battery overnight. Has a trickle charge on it as well, a 2 amp trickle charge. And this thing right here is about 35 bucks. So you jump down from 89 to 35 bucks. And then right here, we'll go down to what's called a battery tender. This is an old school brand, been around forever. I've been using these things for a long time, and it is just basically a trickle charger. So you could leave this on your vehicle battery as long as you'd like, and it would just kind of maintain the 12-volt charge on your battery. Therefore, it would never build up any corrosion on the lead plates and cause shorted cell or any of the failures that what you're seeing when a car sits for a long time. Now the battery's not supposed to sit like that. So this thing right here, I think runs for about $25, $26. I'm gonna go ahead and make a list in my Amazon, in the AutoEdits Amazon storefront on a bunch of different options in this range here. This thing right here is the cheapest one. It's a really easy thing to use. You just plug it into the wall. Red goes to positive, black goes to negative. This is a really good option. As a matter of fact, if any of you are just, since I don't actually use this one anymore, since I use these two primarily, I'd be happy to send this to you, a viewer, share this with someone who might need it. I'd be happy to throw this in the UPS to help someone out in this time. It's really not a big deal. It's light enough to be easy to ship. So leave a comment down there if you want this or know someone who could make use of this. These things I'm not gonna ship, it's too heavy, and you could get one for 35 bucks. But again, this would be a really easy thing I could just give forward. Take it. And then over here I have a different option. Now this is what, you've seen a bunch of these things, these ads for these things. It's just a jump starter. It's a portable battery jump starter pack. It comes with two little clamps to actually plug into here, and this will jump start your vehicle when it's dead. I run this in any vehicle that I'm in just as a fail safe or something. I don't have to carry jumper cables anymore because you just keep this charged and use this. So this is a kind of a good option, but this isn't solving the problem that I noticed of people letting their the vehicle batteries die during this time. Where you going, Pinto? All right, so I'm gonna bring you in on the old pickup truck here to give you a quick rundown, a lay of the land of how the battery and charging system works in a typical vehicle. Now, you have your battery, obviously, and that's sitting right here in this particular vehicle. And then you have this little guy right down here, that's called the alternator. And that is what, once the vehicle is running, this belt turns that, the engine will turn that, and that will generate electricity to charge the battery. Now, one of the ways to not have to plug an auxiliary battery charger onto your vehicle to charge your battery is to let the alternator do that, but that requires your vehicle to be running to let that happen. Now, here's a quick catch to that, and that's you can't just go out in your garage or in your carport, wherever, and start your car and let it run for a few minutes. It takes about 10 to 12 minutes generally to recharge your battery just from the moment that you from the energy it takes to start the engine. So don't go out, start the engine, let it run for 10 minutes and think that you're actually doing your battery any good. You're really not. So a good thing to kind of keep in mind is to go out maybe every week, if you can remember, and just start and then drive your car around the block. It's actually good for all of your vehicles to actually get in them, start them, drive them a little bit. There's fluids in the differential, the transmission, inside the engine oil. It's good to have those fluids run through those systems because the seals, there's particles in those things that help keep the seals fresh. So it's not a bad thing, you know, and it's something that I don't want to encourage anybody to do any behavior that's not quarantine friendly. Getting in your car and driving 20 minutes or 30 minutes, it's good for your head. Come right back home and park your vehicle, and that will be the best thing for it. So what I recommend is if you don't want to buy another charger, some sort of charger and charge your battery, get out there and drive your vehicle for a good 30 minutes once a week, and that'll help upkeep that. Now, I'm gonna bring you inside the Mustang and show you exactly what the static battery looks like and then what it looks like when it's running. All right, so now we're inside my old Mustang here, and I want to show you in real terms what that looks like, what the voltage looks like. So here on the gauge, I have this really nice Dakota digital gauge system in here. So you can see the resting battery on this thing fully charged. I drive this thing and I keep the charger on it, is at 12.5. That's a little high actually for a resting battery. You can see it's starting to settle down a little bit. 12 to 12.4. So a resting good battery is anything above 12. You want to see, once it's got a little bit of a load on it, it's sitting here, you can see it's settled in right at 12.4. That's pretty healthy. Now watch, I'll turn on the fuel system, the computer that runs this thing, and it dropped down a little bit. Turn on the fuel pump, and now watch this, when I start it, that will jump up to 14.5, 14.9. So there you go. You can now see that the thing has jumped up to 14.9 here while it's idling. So that alternator is now in there kicking in. Now, a 12-volt battery charges at anything over 13.5 volts. So this is a little bit aggressive. I have a high amp alternator, a high performance alternator on this thing. So that's why we're seeing such an aggressive charge. But that gives you an idea. Now watch as I don't have to holler. This thing is a little rambunctious. But as you can see, now that I've turned it off, the battery is settling back down, and it's at a resting voltage. You can see it's starting to drop. It should drop itself back down to what we saw when we woke this thing up at that 12.5. You can see it's still going down a little bit. So that's the basics of how the system works, and I just thought it would be fun to show you just graphically how that happens. Here's another example of testing a resting battery. Now, obviously, so I have the vehicle on, you're seeing the resting battery, it's settling back down to what we talked about a second ago when we showed it's about 12.5 now. Now's a good time. You could test the strength of your battery by, when it's resting like that, put a load on it. So I'm gonna turn the headlights on, I'm gonna turn the engine management system on. So the thing is fully loaded right now, drawing all of the power that this thing could take. And you can see my battery here is holding at 12.3. That's really good. That's a really strong battery. Now what you'll see from a vehicle and a battery that's at its near the end of its duty cycle is that as soon as you put a load on a resting battery, it just falls. I literally just did this in my mother's car where the battery resting was just about 12.0. I put a gauge on it and then I turned the headlights on and it fell to 11.7. And that was a very good indication that the actual 12-volt battery in her car was no good. So we replaced that thing. So that's a good example there if you have this ability to look at what the specs of your battery are. And just like any excuse to start the thing, we should do it one more time just to make sure it's charging, right? Yeah. Now there's a funny saying that usually refers to actually Jeeps, is what I've heard it most prevalently on, is that how do you check the fluids? Well, you just make sure there's a puddle of each underneath it. Well, I'm actually pretty dialed right now. The truck doesn't leak, the Mustang doesn't leak, the Jeep actually has no leaks under it right now. But this little thing right here, that is how I check the fluids, and that's back to that point of it's good to drive your vehicle. Hey buddy, I know, no, I need to take Pinto for a ride. You have to drive it to help circulate that stuff, but under the vet here, there's a few things that likes to leak, and that's how I'd make sure that it still has fluid in it, is that there's a puddle of some of them underneath there. So go right here. It's just good to get them out. I put the charger on this thing every month or so, or I just remind myself every few weeks to get it out and take it for a good half hour, 45-minute drive. And usually my loop into the mountains actually is about an hour, and it's perfect. It's good for your brain too. Good girl. That's my dog. So there you go. Hopefully one of these tips and tricks will help prevent you incurring an expensive repair in the middle of this quarantine, and it just will help ease your mind in the middle of us getting back to our normal. And if you do, please share this video with someone who you think it might help, and let me know if you think you need that thing. I'll pop that in the mail to you. So just let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, and until next time, I'm AutoEdits Jason. Enjoy your drive.